At a time when live service, multiplayer-only games are hardly the most popular pitches in the world, particularly ones from studios known for their purely single-player output, we're quietly optimistic about FBC Firebreak, Remedy's upcoming co-op PvE Control spin-off. And that's because we've now played a couple of hours of the game at a recent press event.
Welcome to Firebreak.
Get out there. Get rid of anything that glows. Except in your crewmates, of course.
The premise with Firebreak is that you're one of a team of 3 slightly haphazard backroom problem solvers called Firebreakers, dropped into a variety of multi-stage scenarios where an enemy force known as the Hiss, who you'll remember if you played Control, have overrun some deep corner of the Federal Bureau of Control building, and, as you would expect, have stirred up some trouble.
I wouldn't leave that shuttle behind, I were you.
The basic setup is a good place to start. There are 3 classes in FBC Firebreak, referred to here as Crisis Kits. There's the Jump Kit, Fix Kit and Splash Kit, each functioning as both a secondary weapon and a kind of practical tool to be used for completing your overall objectives. Weapons and grenades are freely interchangeable once you unlock them with resources earned from your exploits, as are visual customizations, so the kits themselves are really the crux of things.
Shit!
Here's an example of how those kits might work together in the game. In one level, or job known as Hotfix, you need to repair fans of the oldest house's infamous furnace before the whole place overheats. Some repairs require the Jump Kit, which uses jolts of electricity for both damage and electrical repairs. Others require the Fix Kit, which gives its Firebreaker a wrench with which to whack enemies in melee and repair other kinds of faults. The Splash Kit, which lets you send large blobs of water or many small blobs of water at enemies to stagger them a little, doesn't repair anything, but splashing enemies can prime them for a wider, chained jolt of higher damage electricity. Or you could splash your Fix Kit user as they climb inside the searing hot fan to repair it at its source, keeping them cool and preventing them from catching fire. Or if you find it particularly annoying that they keep running off on their own away from the group, you could just let them burn for a bit to teach them a little lesson and then spray them once they get the point.
Much better.
All this is very much just the foundation, which spirals outwards into subtle complexities and little-known interactions, and combines with a deliberately calibrated finickiness to some of Firebreak's smaller mechanics. Healing, for instance, is done by taking a shower, while ammo is primarily gained from a kind of tool station full of nuts and bolts. On most difficulties, the 2 of these are located right by the elevator where you enter the level, and at the beginning of each subsequent stage, but sometimes they'll require repairing first. Sometimes the shower will also have a broken heater which needs fixing too, lest you end up with a cold shower that applies the cooling effect and slows you down. In another nice touch, anyone can actually fix the broken fans on Hotfix, regardless of their chosen kit. But without the right one, you'll need to follow a hectic minigame of mashing in 2 buttons in the right sequence for a long time, all while your allies offer you some cover.
That's not good.
Other examples are ceiling sprinklers that can be shot at to set them off, dousing anyone or anything beneath them in water, or using fast-moving air as a means of extinguishing fires, or, more specifically, if you're on fire and you hop on one of the handful of zip lines dotted around the maps like that of Hotfix, moving along it quickly enough will put that fire out. The downside, of course, being that you are now on the other side of the map. Firebreak has the somewhat old-school approach of having a set of upgrades to your weapons and kits, and a set of unlockable perks too, both earned through the main loop of playing rounds of the game, collecting resources, and spending them on said unlocks. One of the reasons for this is that the session lengths are quite short, so Remedy has intentionally aimed to make it something that you can dip in and out of. Friendly fire is also a thing in Firebreak, which sounds like a fairly controversial design idea until you remember the success of Helldivers 2, which was a specific point of inspiration for Remedy with Firebreak. That's not the only game that's influenced Firebreak though, as it also feels like a tentative take on the old Left 4 Dead formula. You fix your shower and you run off to do your little jobs, repair a big fan, gather weird radioactive eggs, or zap hundreds of scattered post-it notes, all whilst mowing down a couple of small clumps of not zombies before you exfil back at the elevator. But then you progress a little further, upping the clearance level, which is a kind of difficulty modifier that increases rewards, and work your way a little deeper into the bowels of the oldest house, or towards a final boss battle. As the difficulty scales and the stakes with them, any little mishaps and interactions start to matter. If you press the lift's door button twice, for example, as you might easily imagine yourself doing in a rush as huge waves of enemy heavies barrel down on you, those doors will start to open and then close again. If you soak your pals as well as that onrushing horde, and then said pal dutifully starts zapping away with electricity, you might find that your whole team goes up in smoke as well, as they'll also do when hit with your grenades, or your supers, or just your panicked shotgun fire. This all stacks quite wonderfully into a frantic, electrifying, run-based shooter, with difficulties feeling like gambles, a wager of your crew's time against the difficulty and any promised reward. Its potential really is up there with the games we've already mentioned, like Helldivers 2 and Left 4 Dead, but also Darktide, Payday, Deep Rock Galactic, and even Overcooked. FBC Firebreak really has the feeling of coming together at the last minute, what with its release in June onto Xbox Game Pass and PlayStation Plus. But when you think of its inspirations, perhaps that's exactly the way these kind of games need to work. And with Firebreak especially, this almost feels like a strength. And talking of strengths, now's a great time to score some incredible Xbox games through Humble. The Xbox Game Studios Publisher Bundle is live now through to May the 23rd, and it's packed with hits. Pay as little as £3.90 to unlock Broken Age, Sunset Overdrive and Battletoads, or pay £7.80 or more to get all of those games, plus Wasteland 3, As Dusk Falls, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, Age of Empires Definitive Edition, and Remedy's very own Quantum Break. Every purchase supports Gameheads, a non-profit helping train the next generation of game developers from underserved communities. Whether you're building your backlog or discovering something new, now is the perfect time to grab these Xbox classics and give back.